Hello, good morning, everyone. Wanted to spend some time with you guys today, and as I'm doing some research to allow you to follow along with me. So we are looking at how the United Nations is infiltrating our local municipalities. And right now we are really zooming in on one municipality in particular and looking at it as a bit of a case study. And we want to see how the United Nations is infiltrating our municipalities. So we found the Partners for Climate Protection program, and it was created by the Federation of Canadian Municipalities 2 years after Canada signed on to Agenda 21. And also in 1994, they sent the Municipal Primer, a 40-page document, to our municipalities across Canada on how they would implement Agenda 21 through Canadian municipalities. And one of their means of implementation was information for decision making. So that's what the Partners for Climate Protection program is all about. And so over in Thorold in Niagara last year, they tried to slip forward this motion, and it's a three-page resolution to join the program, and the councillors there had some discussion on it. We're going to watch that today, and they decided to do a 1-year trial of the program. So it's supposed to be up for review, and they did something a little sneaky over there because now it's up for review and people are getting ready to do deputations and motions to opt out of the program. And now they're saying, oh, well, the staff that was responsible for that file never submitted it. So technically we just joined a week into February here. So we still have 1 whole year. And then I asked when their strategic plan was due to be drafted, and they said, we're just starting it now. So the second the PCP program gets into the municipality's strategic plans, then they're bound to those directives moving forward for the next 3 or 4 years. So let's have a look at how that comes into a municipality, and then we'll look at how our one of the councillors, Councillor Handley down in Thorold, has put forward a notice of motion to opt out of that program, and the presentation that I gave to their environmental council on this matter, on the Partners for Climate Protection program last Friday, and then how we're going to, what we need to do in our deputations moving forward. So whenever we're doing deputations, it's really, tactical civics, right? And we need to look at what they are using as their reasoning, and we need to address that. We can't go down different rabbit holes and into the weeds on different issues. We need to be very focused and clear about what it is that we are recommending to council, and we need to put that forward in a way that will change things in the council. Things happen in council chambers by resolution or by law, and it is our civic duty to do deputations for public awareness and education, and to make recommendations that are clearly stated in the format that the council is used to seeing, so that they know that we want them to act upon this. And that is what we are finding out and discovering. So we're all learning this together. And I thought we would put up the Council of Thorold's discussion on this program this time last year, and we can look at their different arguments on that. And so I will present that now, and we can just make some comments as we go through. And okay, good. I'll full screen that. So this is how the conversation started. They first flipped this in front of them and asked them to approve it. Okay. And I think that there is a little bit more to the story, but that's basically it. It's just this resolution here that they slipped through, and I can share that really quickly. So resolution to join the FCM ICLEI, Partners for Climate Protection Program, and ICLEI is the United Nations, basically. And then it's a 3-page document. They want 1 corporate staff and 1 elected official to sign it and be responsible for the file. And you'll notice that they're saying here that it's mandated, but we see here that this program, they can always leave. So it's not really mandated. You know, they can leave this program at any time. And of course, there's many municipalities in Ontario and in Canada that aren't signed on to this program. There's about 500 signed on out of all the about 4,000 municipalities. So it's not really true that it's being that they have to do it. And then they slip certain words in that talk about once they are partnered with this program, they have certain requirements to meet. So let's have a listen to that discussion. And if you have any questions, comment, and we'll try and get to the bottom of this together and figure out how the United Nations is infiltrating our local councils.
Adopt 4 DS2 2023, joining the Partners for Climate Protection. Who pulled that one? Go ahead, Councillor DeRose.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. You know, I love the idea behind this. However, I know the budgetary status says joining the partner on page 1, joining the Partners for Climate Protection Program does not have a fee, but then it talks about 5 milestones on page 3. And I just wondering if staff, before we commit to this, because I believe personally, I teach in Thorold, been for my whole life pretty well. I think Thorold staff and residents try to do their best in regard to what we can do to help mitigate climate damage. But I'm just wondering, these milestones on page 3 have, there's 5 milestones, and I'm sure there's a cost associated with them. Has staff looked at that yet? If anybody on staff could answer, I'd appreciate it. So I'm talking about the milestone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Jason? Go ahead, Jason.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd actually like to refer the question to Megan Burbeck, our senior.
Hi, so through the chair, for the milestones, so as the councillor pointed out, joining the Partners for Climate Protection has no cost, but it offers us different tools to help us tackle all of these 5 milestones. So the really only fee that's involved would be staff time. The creation of a baseline emissions inventory would actually help us fulfill a requirement that we are mandated to do, which is an energy consumption and demand management plan. That's required to be done by the province every 5 years. So I believe it's either this year or next year that the city would have to do an energy conservation demand management plan and send that plan, which would be a 5-year plan, to the province. For that plan, we do report annually. These reports are done, I believe, through Public Works / Finance. So the reports are done, they usually look at the energy that's used, but they also leave an opportunity and encourage us to look at the greenhouse gas emissions that are being done through electricity, natural gas, propane, or any sort of energy sources that we use in the city. So that first milestone there on page 3 is the creation of a baseline emissions inventory, which kind of goes hand in hand with that energy consumption and demand management plan that is a provincial requirement to be done. And then the next.
Okay, so I just wanted to comment on this. She's playing with the words here, it seems. So she's saying that there is no cost to the city, but then she says that it will cost wages and staff time. And what we've noticed is that the majority of the agenda items, aside from roads and building and permits and stuff like that, is climate change reports. So so it's clearly taking a lot of their staff time. And I think if you've ever tried to deal with your city or try and get anything done, things are moving really slow there. So all while we need them to do real pertinent, important, relevant actions for us so that we can move forward with our lives and try and cooperate with the cities, they are taking up their time doing climate reports. Okay, and then she goes on to say that this is mandated by the province, so an energy consumption and demand management plan, and that the PCP program will help with that. And so there's a requirement from the province to do an energy consumption and demand management plan. So we'll look into that to see how much that demand is holding weight in the municipalities. But then I believe she's slipping in here that with the PCP program, then they would have to report annually on their greenhouse gas emissions. So that's completely separate from what the province is asking for. So maybe municipalities can look at doing if they're actually mandated to do their energy consumption and demand reports and management plans for the province separately, and that they don't need the PCP program to do that. So let's keep listening, because this whole idea of reporting your greenhouse gas emissions annually is only part of the Partners for Climate Protection program, and is not part of the energy consumption and demand plan, I believe. So you just have to listen to the words and how she kind of is manipulating the council into thinking that they have to do this.
Next milestone is to set emissions reduction targets. So in the tools that we would be receiving from the PCP program, it would give us, we would be inputting the emissions into their software. And from there, it would help us kind of identify what reductions would be able to be done. And that's a pretty simple milestone in terms of we would just set an emissions target that would be realistic from the emissions, and then we would bring that to council for council to discuss. So milestone 2 would be staff time plus council's endorsement that would help us meet that milestone 2. Milestone 3 would take those emissions, the reduction targets, and actually come up with action items through a plan to get that reduction done. Again, that would be staff time with all the free resources that is offered by the PCP program. Those action items would also go hand in hand with that energy consumption demand management plan, because in that plan, we're required to have a plan of how we're going to manage our energy. So by reducing our energy, we would also, in theory, be reducing our greenhouse gases. Is a thought that when you put the 2 and 2 together. Milestone 4 would be implementing the plan, which would be then could involve different aspects of the municipality, from staff time to staff resources and fees. But those implementing those action items would be, again, kind of going hand in hand with that energy consumption demand management plan, and then monitoring every year and reporting back to the PCP program. So we actually get a substantial amount of free resources that would help us, in theory, be able to do an in-house energy consumption demand management plan. Many municipalities put that plan out to consultants to work on. I myself have worked on that and climate change action plan, so I have that background in doing that for West Lincoln in particular. We're still working to get our staff resources working as effectively as possible, but I know many municipalities can use things like students, either high school students, co-op students, of different resources. So from my opinion, it wouldn't be adding a substantial amount of time to get this done, because we do need to get that energy consumption demand management plan done, and would in theory help us save money by not having a consultant do that plan and doing it in-house with the free resources.
Free resources.
Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Megan. Thanks for the detailed explanation, but I just wanted some numbers. I want to know how much this is going to cost us, because I need actual figures before I'm going to support something. And you said you've done it before. I know you're saying in kind. That costs taxpayers money, right? So I need some actual figures, and I don't see any. So I can't support this at this time without actual numbers.
So that is Councillor Carmen DeRose of Thorold. So I just wanted to add some comments to what she said there. So you'll notice she said that they would then bring it to council, and that they would require the council's endorsement. So in council, let me just pull this up here. They can't do these partnership programs, can't do anything without the council's endorsement. The council is the governing body over the municipality. They are the custodians of its powers, and it is only through their passing of bylaws and resolutions that anything is acted upon in a municipality. So the UN smart, they know that they need to get the councillors to agree with this program, or else they can't force it on them. And even like I showed you, the program, it says here that they can leave the program at any time, right? So this isn't being forced on the council. They're using tricky words and saying, oh, well, like the province is mandating this energy management plan. Well, that might be reasonable, but then they're going in and saying that the PCP program will help them to do that. So but then they say that other municipalities will hire a consultant to do it and have students and co-op students do it. So we don't really need the program in order to meet that mandate. And that would get us out of having to report our greenhouse gas emissions on an annual basis, and the council and staff time to do that. And the fact that once they partner with this program, they're limiting their own decision-making options to fall within only UN directives. And councillors who begin to oppose those UN directives will be acting against what the council has already put forward in the books as their plan to follow the UN directives moving forward. Once they adopt these Partner for Climate Protection Program compliant plans, the council is bound to the UN directives, and it also will begin to limit our public consultation to within UN directive options. Look at your public surveys right now. You know, it's basically pick your top 3 sustainable development action items that you want us to do first. There are no other options. And we see that they're even trying to deny public deputations, saying that the deputation is denied because the cities are considering their decision-making under the broad umbrella of the United Nations directives. Why? Because Prime Minister Trudeau is aiming to achieve Agenda 2030. So the council they have the power to endorse this program or to reject it. If they have brought forward this motion to partner, they can go back to that motion and reconsider it and opt out of the program and leave at any time. And then that frees up our staff time again. It frees up the council time. It frees up the public consultation and the decision-making options within council and unties their hands from the United Nations program. So again, we're looking at how the United Nations is infiltrating our local municipalities. And this is how they're doing it with programs like this, with the Partners for Climate Protection program that the Federation of Canadian Municipalities created 2 years after Canada signed on to Agenda 21. And I'll just quickly show you the flow chart on page 9 of the municipal primer, which shows that Agenda 21 is being implemented through Canadian municipalities, and their means of implementation is promoting education, public awareness and training, and information for decision making. That's what the PCP program is all about. Information for decision making. Okay? Councillors, mayors, you are the governing authority over that municipality. You hold decision-making authority over your municipality. If you partner with this program, then your decision-making authority will fall under the UN directives. And it goes on to say transfer of environmentally sound technology, and that's where the smart cities and surveillance and all that technological stuff is coming into the cities too. So we'll have people more expert in that speak to that. I'm sure as I put this information out, we need to get that out to the people. So let's continue listening to this council meeting in Thorold.
I know it's in kind, but they're numbers. They're taking away staff that are very busy right now, but I appreciate your answer.
Thank you, Councillor Hanley.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to defer it just on the simple fact that I'd put a motion forward previous in regards to an organization review and the possibility of enhancement of more staff members. And to me, it's a great explanation as to why, but at the bottom line, it sounds as if there may be a position that needs to be hired, and I'm asking that defer it and it be discussed during the budget deliberation, because there's obviously going to be a cost associated with it. And seeing what we discussed earlier tonight, in light of that, we have a lot of things on the table this year.
So you're
defer it.
deferring it. We don't need, we're not going to have a discussion on it. A deferral motion. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Longo. Okay, there's no debate on the deferral motion. We have
So I just want to confirm, Mr. Mayor, the timeline for this is a deferral to deal with after budget, or are you referring it to budget deliberations?
Referring it to budget deliberations.
Thank you.
all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay. Items for consideration.
Okay.
FES 1 2023 capital expenditure for bunker.
Okay, so that was January 17th last year, and then it went to the budget meeting. So I'll see if I can pull that one up. I'll look and see if he let me know exactly when that was. But in the meantime, I'm going to jump ahead to this year, just last Thursday, and show you Councillor Handley putting forward a motion to opt out of this program. And so that's where we're going to go next.
Notice it's a motion. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to bring to council, next council meeting, a motion
All right.
to, that's surrounding the topic.
But at one time, Enbridge. Okay, I'd like to put, I have a couple of notices of motion. Seeing that we approved tonight, item 12.8 in regards to.
So this
extending the
one,
contract
he
with
has two
Enbridge
motions
Gas.
and it's the
I
second
wanted to put a
one.
notice of motion in regards to supporting Enbridge Gas in the appeal to the OMB, the Ontario Energy Board decision, and their ruling in regards to the installation cost to consumers. Council may not be aware, but at one time, Enbridge made that repayment plan to consumers or purchase of new homes over a 40-year term.
Just a-
And the Ontario Energy Board recently decided that it would be 0 years. That would
Okay.
mean an immediate.
Yeah, they're
impact
trying to get rid of our
$5,000
natural
onto,
gas, which
a
is
home.
very low in
Okay,
emissions.
so,
So you got to
you will
watch
put
what's
that
happening in
notice
your
of motion,
councils
but I
because they
do
are
think that,
attacking our energy
make sure
security.
you know before that, I think that the province is reversing their decision on that, but I don't know if they have yet, so.
They haven't, but I know that it's through there. Also, I put a notice of motion on the floor, Mr. Mayor, in regards to the corporation, the city of Thorold, and their membership or affiliation with PCP, ICLE, and any group organization in regards to business ties. And what I'd like to do is I want to put a notice of motion forward in regards to the corporation, city of Thorold, to absolve or dissolve or rescind any association, affiliation, or membership with PCP, Partners for Climate Protection. We brought forward last year on January the 17th.
Listen,
I
when you
did,
bring
and
up, we're not talking on the motion now. You're gonna bring a motion
Okay.
forward. You can talk at the, when the motion.
okay, I just wanted to put that forward, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay,
got-
so you got it on the
we got
agenda
both of
for
them.
March 19th in
You're gonna
Thorold.
work with staff and bring those motions forward, Council.
And let me just
Thank you.
stop
Okay.
sharing. And add some comments to that. So we looked in, we called the staff, and oh my goodness, the lighting. We called the staff, and I got the notice, I got the exact wording of the motion as it was carried. So I'll share that with you. And that's kind of what we have to do. We have to get, again, tactical civics, right? So the only way we can get this motion rescinded is to put it forward exactly as it was originally stated. So we will get there. So this is what that looks like. So when you're doing a recommendation to council, you have to word it exactly how they, it's like a magic, it's like a magic key, right? The words and how we present them are what will create the actions that we want. So this is the original motion here. For example, Report DC 8-2023, dated February 7th, 2023, respecting the Partners for Climate Protection Program, PCP financial considerations, be approved, and the following recommendations be approved. So we want them to reconsider this motion that has been approved, right? So we need to put it forward exactly how it was originally stated and have it reversed. And then when they see it presented like this, then they know they need to do something with it. If we go in there and we do a deputation and we don't put forward our recommendations in the way that recommendations are put forward, then they can ignore those recommendations. They don't have to do anything with it, but they have to do something with this. This is the type of recommendation format that they have to do something with. Okay, so that is something that we are learning. And I'm going to show you the reaction of the councillors in Duro-Dummer last August. Okay, we were on to it. We were onto them and how the official plan was a death sentence to the rural municipalities in Peterborough County. And we didn't have all the answers, but we were on the right track and they knew it. And now we can come to them and we can show them exactly the year and the meeting minutes that they partnered with the the protection program here, the PCP. If I say that C word too much, so they're already starting to downgrade my viewership on different platforms. So I am moving more over to Twitter if you'd like to follow me over there for this kind of information. But but now we know how they're doing it. So I can go to Duro Dummer now and all the counties, the townships around Peterborough and say, look, you guys partnered in 2015 with this program. Here's the motion. Bring it up for reconsideration. And then our strategic plans and official plans will be designed by the people again, and with proper public consultation, with proper surveys, and the United Nations ICLEI program won't be downloaded into our official plans and put before you. Instead, your city staff, who hopefully are from the area, and the elected council will be the ones drafting the strategic plans and official plans, as they should be. That is what their job is, and they're outsourcing it to the United Nations, and we see the result of that. Let's just go look at what happens when our official plans are based on so-called sustainable development. They're restricting the private property rights and limiting the severances. That means that there is no natural sustainable growth in an area. It just means that if you fall on hard times, you have to sell your entire property because you can't sever a piece off to pay for your mortgage or to buy a piece of farm equipment or to give it to your children or your family, or to sell it to pay your mortgage. These official plans also limit mobility. They're driving the future population growth away from our rural townships and into selected settlement areas. This reduces the tax revenue for the smaller municipalities, and that means that the services are cut off. The hospitals are gone, the post office is gone, the schools are gone, the community centers are gone. And next thing you know, everyone's in the city. And what's happened to our towns? They've been downgraded to villages. The villages are downgraded to hamlets. The hamlets turn into ghost towns. And the next thing we know, our rural homes are abandoned in it. And just take a drive through Ontario. Rural homes abandoned, degraded, in shatters, the land unoccupied, unused. So that is the result of sustainable development, so-called. And they say that it's because they want to save the land for future generations, okay? Meanwhile, our generation is unable to afford a home. We're dealing with a high cost of living, 42% increase in food bank use, average rent over $2,000, and our groceries are going up, and we're being driven into the cities with, the homelessness problem piling up all around us. There's nowhere to live. And average, everyday working people are sleeping in their cars, okay? And they want to bring more people in, okay? And to build up these cities even more and fill them with people from all over the world. Just bring them all in. And I don't have a problem with immigration. I have a problem with this whole agenda and the repercussions on future generations and on our generation's ability to live a life of freedom and liberty and the pursuit of happiness and having that American dream, that Canadian dream of owning a home, raising your family, having a car, taking a vacation, and having some downtime in our life so we can just enjoy life and not be stressed out about all these problems that are affecting our main priorities, like our food, our shelter, and all sorts of things like that. So let's go and we'll look at because I really want to highlight today I really want to highlight the counselors that have stepped up. And Duro Dummer is an excellent example of that. And I'm going to show you what they said after the presentation. So first I'll share the presentation to Duro Dummer. It is a bit long, but and you really had to be there to get a feel for the room. There was 65 people there. When I was preparing to go up, I did get a note passed up to me, and it said, you know, just speak to them, like don't be so technical, and speak to them in a more common language, right? So that's what I did. I kind of took my speech and I brought it down to an everyday person's level. And I'm sorry the recording isn't great, but it is what it is. Maybe what I can do, let me see if the city of Duro Dummer has a better recording. That was August 1st, 2023. Yeah, okay, so here it is here. We'll watch it off their screen.
Madam Chair, we are recording again and we are live on YouTube. You can begin.
Oh, this is, they're in session. Where is their, not there. Sorry. Here.
Madam Mayor, you are live.
All right, got it.
Will be received, and then the budget schedule.
Off their ATV and walk it across roads. Polaris, an example here, Polaris is now even requiring warnings.
So when we went into that meeting, there was a deputation before me about how this guy was saying that they don't want ATVs being used in the municipality, and it was about climate change. His reasoning was that it would help reduce climate change if they would stop using ATVs in a rural municipality.
The published advertisement stating, quote, Polaris off-road vehicles can be hazardous to operate and are not intended for on-road use. Quote. In addition, 4 of these do not come equipped with turning signals, differentials, or proper headlights for use on roads, which are a serious safety concern.
And it would be a convenient statistic to find out how many deaths on ORVs versus number of.
Okay, so.
And so, Nathan Ron, you can please come on up to the lectern. Thank you. Thank you and welcome. And just as a reminder, again, 10 minutes. We'll try and hold you to that, understanding that you might be a little nervous, but please know that we've got a large agenda as well to get through beyond the delegations this evening.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for everyone who's here tonight to be here as I talk about this agenda item. My name is Maggie Braun, and when I grew up, I was raised to believe that climate change was a threat to humanity, a threat to the planet. I even took ecosystem management at Bird-Fleming College, Lindsay, in the hopes of better understanding climate change and maybe one day working for the UN. That was my goal in life as a young girl. I found while I was there that the science behind climate change was actually nothing more than propaganda, and it stemmed from unelected international organizations. I wasn't going to talk about this, but it did come up tonight about climate change. And just a few scientific facts about that. Carbon makes up 0.04% of the Earth's atmosphere. It is plant food. We are made out of carbon. We breathe out carbon. The plants breathe carbon back in and produce oxygen. The more carbon that is in the atmosphere, the more the plants grow. And Canada absorbs over 7 times more carbon than we put out in Canada. Canada has an amazing resource of fuel on the West Coast, and there's absolutely no reason why Canadians should be going for net zero by 2050. We need to heat our homes. We need to drive our cars. This is a huge, when we start doing that, we're actually making everyone's life a lot harder. And people die more often because of colder temperatures than warmer temperatures. So what Canada's doing as far as these international organizations is quite harmful to our society and to our health. So from a human health perspective. So I wanted to go into the what happened here in Canada with the United Nations. In 1992, Canada signed on to the UN Agenda 21 by Brian Mulroney. 178 nations signed on and were promised big money for going green. Once signed, Canada became a UN member state, a nation state, and all of our towns and cities were in a sense abandoned or merged together to form UN city-states, of which Peterborough is now one, and Dummer is part of that tier. By the year 2000, we saw our countries being governed by unelected organizations like the UN, the G7, the G20, the Council of Foreign Relations, the World Bank, the World Economic Forum, the World Health Organization, and an organization you're probably quite familiar with, the International Council on Local and Environmental Issues. That acronym is pronounced ICLEI, and it's all over the reports for our municipalities. This is an international organization that is acting as a consultant group to all of our towns across the country. Instead of following parliamentary procedures for law changes, the municipal primer was sent to all of our local towns in 1994. I didn't bring a copy of it, but you should have it in the back room. This municipal primer outlined how our local governments were to be restructured. It took the power away from our mayor and council and gave it to a private corporation, calling itself our cities, whatever the name of our city is. So the city of Peterborough, whatever the city is.
Okay, so I want to take this opportunity to correct myself. Again, we are just learning this material as we go through, and we're close. We're really close. So they're partnered with ICLEI through the Partners for Climate Protection program, and the municipal primer wasn't prescriptive, and it wasn't the document that they used to necessarily restructure. They definitely avoided parliamentary procedures by putting this forward as a blueprint to be adopted by our councils, but they didn't push the restructuring. And this is the way I'm explaining this. And I know other people are looking at different aspects of how the how that partnership between our councils and the incorporated aspect of our cities is playing out, that partnership between the mayor and the CAO. And in the past, there's always been an incorporated aspect, right? And the CAO would oversee the fire department and the police services and the ambulance and the city staff and the city workers, okay? And the mayor and the council hold the decision-making authority over the municipality, okay? So they were in a higher position. Now, what's happened with programs like the Partners for Climate Protection program is the city and has slipped this resolution through. This little resolution, this 3-page resolution through, and put it before the council, and get them to adopt it. And what that does is that empowers this corporate aspect into this higher position, because now it's partnered with these international organizations, and it makes them have all this power. And that's why the corporate aspect of our cities has all this power now, one of the reasons. So what we want to do is find all the UN directive programs that our cities are partnered with and bring those motions to adopt those programs forward, and to let the council know that this is why, because they've adopted this program, it's bound our councils to operate under the decision-making authority of the United Nations directives. So that's why their decision-making authority is being bound. Okay, so the only way they can get that decision-making authority back is to get this motion in front of them again and have them reconsider it and educate them on the consequences of these programs, and put a motion forward to rescind that partnership. And that will cut off this endless supply flowing through the municipal corporation side into the municipality, and it'll put that incorporated aspect of the city back into its place below the council. Okay, so again, the municipal primer, the original information I had on that stated that it was a document that went around parliamentary procedure and restructured our local government. And I wouldn't say it in that same way anymore. So I know that there's speech templates on Gather 2030 with that stated, and I have a lot of work to do going through and redoing those templates. So I'll make a note of that now, but I'll continue on with the presentation to Duro Dummer, and I just wanted to make corrections as I go through. So
is the main one for the UN city states that you guys are amalgamated into. That primer, it outlined how our public officials, those that we elect to hold the power in this town and everywhere else, were to be partnered with a private corporation calling itself the city. A chief administrative officer was brought into all our towns to implement a global agenda and not a local one. The International Council on Local and Environmental Issues became the main source of consultation to push and fund the global agenda at our local levels. It is then that we saw our public funds and assets being redirected to private development goals and foreign investors under the guise of saving the planet. So now I'd like to get into the official plan for Duro that is on the agenda tonight. That is the next step here. So under this UN city-state arrangement, Peterborough County holds planning responsibility for Duro Dummer. They also hold a chair position on an NGO called Sustainable Peterborough, which is partnered with ICLEI. So I hope you're following that. The official plan for the community, for any community, should be dependent on the engagement with those who live and work in that community, not those from outside that community, and certainly not those from international organizations. This plan was pushed through during COVID, with much of the growth data being skewed by the emergency measures. The acting clerk, who is not from this area and who is not elected, took part and a pivotal role in the decision-making of this official plan, with nearly zero community engagement other than posting it online. Duro-Dummer is not even represented as a single % of the proposed population growth for Peterborough County. Despite provincial and local pushback, Peterborough is still driving all growth to this area to settlement areas like Cavan, Lakefield, Selwyn, and the city of Peterborough. This plan is essentially a plan to dissolve this dear county of Duro-Dummer. By accepting this plan, you're accepting that Duro-Dummer will one day be dissolved and amalgamated even further into this bigger structure. Furthermore, moving on, another aspect of the plan is that it classifies Duro as prime agricultural. This is based on faulty provincial mapping. Duro loves its farms, but the protection of agricultural areas, as it puts it, by a top-down governing structure has made it so that the farmers no longer have a right to sell off parcels of their land. Instead of protecting agricultural areas, this means that the farmers have to sell their entire farm, no longer able to give a parcel to their family, no longer to sell it off in a hard time or to buy extra equipment or however it was traditionally done in the area. Farmers have a right, should have a right to sell a piece of their land should they wish, divide off an acre. These kinds of restrictions only hurt the people of this area. I believe that the councillors and mayor, you know this, and you know that this is an issue for your local residents, and accepting this plan is not in the best interest of Duro-Dummer. Now I'd like to shift gears to the portion of the plan referring to climate change. I believe that's on page 134, 135 of your official plan. But further to that, since you are basically a part of Peterborough, I'm going to talk about what the Peterborough Environmental Committee did this year. So firstly, their report is found PEAC 23-010. In here is a link to a plan that identifies the required actions to achieve net zero by 2050 here. Measures include a vague reference to targeting our mobility, just like was discussed earlier, but in a different sense. In report PEAC 23-002, it states that Peterborough declared a climate emergency in 2019. This was clearly not triggered by a local event in Peterborough. Nothing has changed in our climate the last few years. I would say now we need to do something. If anything, it's getting a bit colder. So, so this is purely coming into effect based on a global agenda and not a local one. This report states that the City of Peterborough participated in ICLEI Canada's Advancing Adaptation Project and received a grant for $15,000. That's not really big money, but it's money for going green. And if we look back at the amount of money that has been funneled to the Canadian municipalities from the UN through ICLEI since 1994, we will find billions of dollars being used to transform our towns into something that we no longer recognize. Most disturbingly, this report states that the recent reductions in greenhouse gas emissions were primarily the result of the COVID-19 pandemic and how it modified our travel patterns. This is repeated again in report PEAC 23009. When you put this together with the previous statement about targeting our mobility, the question of whether the sacred mobility rights and our legal rights of Canadians are at stake, and I believe they are, and that is why so many people are sitting in this room tonight. Regardless of Canada being a UN member, no level of government has the authority to implement foreign mandates policies, treaties, or agreements that violate the Canadian Constitution, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, the Bill of Rights, or the Coronation Oath. Conspiring with foreign powers to assist in any act preparatory to the takeover of our nation is an act of treason, according to Section 46, Part 1 of the Canadian Criminal Code. With that, I would like to speak directly to the elected officials of Douro Dummer, the mayor and council.
Ms. Brown, just to pause you for a moment. You are just slightly past the 10-minute mark, so I'll ask that you
one more minute.
Summarize.
Very close to the end.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I'd like to present a few options to Douro Dummer for saving Douro Dummer and for the integrity of your positions as our elected officials. Also, you have an opportunity tonight to set an example for the rest of the country, because this is not the only municipality in this situation. You are those that are elected, you are the government. The city staff is not the government. You have the power and the authority. Unfortunately, you have been partnered for your contract, and that contract can be renegotiated. The CAO and town clerk and everyone here, they were appointed by the mayor and council, and they can be fired by the mayor and council. Again, the CAO and the city staff here are not local to this area, and they should be. Previous to the Municipal Act of 2011, every mayor appointed her own mayor, or her own CAO, and her own town clerk locally, and there are more than competent people that live in Douro Dummer who can assist you in your job. With that, you can work with a lawyer to verify the claims that I'm making here tonight. And there may even be some in the room here tonight. We have been working as the residents of this area to figure out how to do this, but we want to do it with you. We want to support you in making the right decisions. We want to have hope again. We're tired of our rights being taken away from us and eroded. You know, it says that one call represents 10 people.
Shoot, something happened. I don't know why it's doing that. Sorry.
Also, you have an opportunity tonight to set an example for the rest of the country, because this state that the recent reductions in greenhouse, no level of government has. So I'd like to present a few options to Douro Dummer for saving Douro Dummer and for the integrity of your positions as our elected.
Sorry about that, guys. Facebook kicked me out. So I was trying to get back in.
Elected officials. Also, you have an opportunity tonight to set an example for the rest of the country, because this is not the only municipality in this situation. You are those that are elected. You are the government. The city staff is not the government. You have the power and the authority. Unfortunately, you have been partnered for your contract, and that contract can be renegotiated. The CAO and town clerk and everyone here, they were appointed by the mayor and council, and they can be fired by the mayor and council. Again, the CAO and the city staff here are not local to this area, and they should be. Previous to the Municipal Act of 2011, every mayor appointed her own mayor, or her own CAO, and her own town clerk locally, and there are more than competent people that live in Douro Dummer who can assist you in your job. With that, you can work with a lawyer to verify the claims that I'm making here tonight. And there may even be some in the room here tonight. We have been working as residents of this area to figure out how to do this, but we want to do it with you. We want to support you in making the right decisions. We want to have hope again. We're tired of our rights being taken away from us and eroded. You know, it says that one call represents 10 people, one letter represents 100, one person represents 1,000, and I counted 60 when I came in tonight, and 5 more just came. So that's 65,000 people represented in this room tonight. So we are asking you to do the right thing, and we want to help you. We want to stand behind you. We want to help you step back into your authority as mayor and council, because it's been taken from you. And when it's taken from you, you no longer can protect us. And it's getting to the point where we really need you guys to step up, okay? We're here to help you with that. Failing that, notices of liability have been drafted by human rights organizations in Canada and are already being distributed to mayors, councillors, city staff, and CAOs across this country. We don't want to have to serve you with notices of liability. But what this is doing is an act of treason. It is serious. And so tonight, here in Warsaw, which has a very significant symbolic name to it, I ask that you would please consider what I'm saying, consider the people that are here tonight to represent this. And the people across this country, do the right thing for Canada and start right here in Warsaw. With that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you for your presentation, Ms. Braun. Are there any questions from council of our presenter this evening? Do we have to figure out some still in play, or is he?
Yep, he's still there.
Technology concerns? Nope, he's still there.
Okay, so that went extremely well. And now what we need to do with that style of presentation, that style of appeal, is incorporate where I said that you've been partnered through your contract. Instead of saying that, we can say you've been partnered through your resolution to join the Partners for Climate Protection program, and we give them the exact date and minutes, showing them where that is so that they can move forward in putting that forward again for reconsideration and to rescind that partnership. So now we have the solution that the councillors need in order to move forward. Now I'm going to show the councillors' reaction to that deputation, and we can see clearly that councillors want to do the right thing, especially in these smaller municipalities. And now we have the tools to help them.
There's no staff presentation on this one.
In June of 2022, EPW. So as a result, county staff are requesting that the minister defer, and the request is to change the designation to highlight specific to council be received this request, and to forward the motion to the ERO posting during the commenting period. And finally, that the provincial government be requested to expedite the introduction of the new provincial planning statement. So given the foregoing and the time constraints for providing comments, staff suggests that it might be appropriate for council to delegate that authority for providing that comment to the township planner and CAO to provide the county with the requested support and to submit the comment.
So this is what they want. They want the councils to delegate their authority to the city planner and the CAO when it comes to these official plans, strategic plans, what have you. And now that I've done that presentation, you can see by the councillors' reactions afterward that they're considering the fact that maybe they shouldn't be delegating their authority to the city staff when it comes to these matters, especially if they're partnered with ICLEI and international organizations.
comment through the ERO. This would be dependent on the outcome at tomorrow's County Council meeting. So with that, I will turn it back to you, Madam Mayor, for any questions from Council.
Thank you, Ms. Coulter. Council, any questions? Councilor Wild.
Questions, comments, maybe some clarification, and maybe you just touched on this, but I'll put it in whatever anywhere. And I was thinking myself, and I keep hearing the maps, the mapping isn't even official yet. It's basically old stuff. So I don't see how the County of Peterborough can pass something that they don't even have all the information on yet. So I agree with them putting it on hold, asking to put it on hold till they have all that information from the province. It just doesn't make sense to do it otherwise. Another thing that for our township is the low growth rate that they've established over the next, till what is it, 2051, something like that. Like I think it's 5% or something like that. I mean, that isn't even going to keep us a status quo for getting ahead, because every time we want more services, it costs more money every year to run this township. I don't think 5% growth is going to even keep us the status quo. Never mind help us get ahead of it. So I would like to see some kind of comment in there to bump us up a little higher than that to help us out. And my last thing is, and I don't know 100% on this, family farms. And there was something in the province thing saying they were talking about 3 severances. Maybe you don't want to keep somebody, but the Peterborough County plan, I think, said none. And I don't know if that was because of the agricultural designation or what, but I'd like to see that addressed too. So those are my 3 comments that I would like to see go to the county for. Yeah, thank you.
Did you want to comment on any of those or confirm or?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for you. I could say with respect to the 3.
So we can see there that the issues that I brought up are being put forward now in the discussion about the provincial mapping being flawed and affecting the severances and the low growth rate. So this is why we need to go in and do the deputation to empower the councillors to speak up on the issues that we're bringing forward. And you've probably all seen the meme, like the reason why it matters for you to speak up is it empowers others to speak up also. So that is what we are seeing with these deputations.
Severances, so that it's a great point. And I think that's why the county is requesting the deferral of the official plan, because the proposed provincial policy statement does speak to allowing for 3 severances from an agricultural property. However, it hasn't been approved. And if right now the county plan has been written under the current policies, which do not allow that. So there could be significant changes depending on the outcome of the approval of the new provincial policy statement.
I just got one comment regarding Maggie Grant's presentation. I think we should look at some of these considerations for our township through the staff, and maybe we could see if there's anything there that can keep us alive. If this is facts that's going on, I think we need to stand up and be counted. So
yes. Stand up and be counted. It's time for the councillors to stand up and be counted.
Review some of the suggestions she made, and maybe we should send those forward before the budget.
Mayor Watson, I would like to echo both.
I love that, Councillor.
Councillor Johnson's comments precisely as they remain here. I wasn't on council at the time when this was approved, but I can't sit here in good faith and say that I would support Peterborough County's.
I don't know why my computer is doing this now. And it's kicked me out of Facebook. I don't even know if it's streaming anymore. Maybe someone can comment.
Plan, because it is essentially a death sentence for this municipality. Growth rate is incredibly low. There's nothing quote unquote in it for the township whatsoever. It completely stagnates growth. It limits the rights of property owners quite significantly. And as Councillor Locke pointed out, it feels like a lot of the designations were arbitrary made, especially with in respect to what's considered prime agricultural land in the county and in the township as well. I've explained to a few people that have come forward with concerns over what's designated as prime agricultural land. There are 7 different land classes, with class number 1 being like your very best agricultural land.
So guys, Facebook is shutting me down today. And this is why I created Gather 2030,
Class 7 being incredibly marginal.
because eventually this information
has,
won't be able
class 1
to go through my page.
The best we have is class 3, which
And they're slowing down the YouTube. So it must be important.
compared to Western Ontario is all class 1 and class 2. Do we want to develop huge subdivisions and tear apart Oxford, Huron, and Perth counties that are the best farmland in the country? Definitely not. Should we build houses in areas with marginal land? Yes, we probably should. And of course, focus on growing cities that already have the infrastructure in place, whether it be electrical, sewer, and water. So, as I say, I can't support the motion as it stands. I would like to put the brakes on everything here until the province comes back with the document that we can look at in a more wholesome manner, both at the township level and the county level.
Yes. Excellent comment. He
Yes,
can't support
can you hear me okay?
the official plan.
Thank you through Madam Chair. I want to echo some of my concerns as well.
Oh man, they are slowing down this information. I'm going to have to do a pre-recording and just put it out and get a Rumble channel
the
set
low
up.
growth that we're looking at in the official plan for the township. It's unsustainable.
Wow.
Again, the mapping has not come out for all of the agricultural land. I did check with Peter Dorse just as recently as last week. Peter is an employee of OMAFRA, and he did tell me that it is on its way, but that has not been officially declared by the minister, by the province for the mapping, which as of right now just seems to paint a broad brush on a lot of our farmland, and in some cases not farmland. That is very low class, as Councillor Adam Verort has alluded to there, about the different classifications of farmland. So anyways, I'm in favor of putting the brakes on this as well.
Yeah.
And getting more information and making sure that we actually have an official plan that we all can live with, and especially with the county as well. That's my comments.
All right, thank you very much.
So all the councillors are not in favor of this official plan as it is, for the reasons stated in the deputation. And I will say that
Through you, Madam Mayor, I think we should just establish where we're at in the process before we start with a motion. And I don't know whether Christina, you want to speak to it, if you want me to speak to it and correct
just,
me if I'm
stop sharing.
incorrect in my assumption. So
Okay, so let me come back to you guys here. So there is a group, obviously, in every town, there's a group of people that are watching what's happening at their local councils. So after the deputation to Peterborough, which happened before this, that group reached out to me and said, I think that what you said in Peterborough is happening here in Duro-Dummer, and we're looking at the official plan, and it's driving all future growth to the settlement areas, and it's restricting our property rights. And it was done with the city clerk in consultation with an international consultant. And so that's when we went in and did this deputation. So all of this would not have happened without the power of the network and people connecting and communicating and passing that information back and forth. So when you see me doing something, it is because of the efforts of dozens of people and the flow of information from so many other people behind that that front-facing action of doing a deputation. So I wanted to thank the ladies out in Duro-Dummer. I want to thank everyone who came out to the deputation that gave it so much power to have 65 people in the room that night. And what happened afterwards is the council voted to support a motion to defer the official plan. And when they brought that forward to the county of Peterborough the next day, where they met with the mayors from all the different smaller lower tier municipalities in Peterborough County, kind of the ones surrounding the city of Peterborough, they brought that forward, and then they realized again, speaking up empowered others to speak up. So then we got to see that the mayors from the other smaller tier municipalities weren't really on board with this official plan either. And what ended up happening was it was deferred. And when it comes back to them from the province with proper mapping, God willing, they want another chance to fully review it, get public consultation on it, and then only then would it be approved by the council of the Peterborough County, which is made up of the mayors of Peterborough townships. So we've gone from expedite the official plan to defer the official plan, and that is a win. And now we have more information on exactly how they've partnered with these UN directive programs, like the Partners for Climate Protection program. And now we have in some templates on deputations that we can go in and do for our counselors. A lot of them don't know that this program even exists. Okay. In Peterborough here, the environmental committee calls it the Partners. They don't even say the Partners for Climate Protection program. It's like they don't even want the councils to know what's happening. And the reason why is because this partnership is binding their decision-making options, which is like their main responsibility and authority, and their ability to oversee the incorporated aspect of our cities. They're binding them to decision-making directives that are coming through international organizations into the incorporated city, passed up by the city clerk and the CAO, put in front of council for approval, because the only way anything is done in a council, again, is through bylaw or resolution. That's how they adopt the program, and that's how they rescind the program. So we need to get that resolution back in front of them for reconsideration, and that's how we can get out of this UN directive program and take back our municipalities from the United Nations takeover. Simple as that. Sometimes our freedom isn't taken away by gunpoint. It's taken away one piece of paper at a time, one seemingly meaningless rule at a time, right? Like the rules of how councils operate. It seems meaningless. We just want to go in there and say, look, you guys are partnered with the UN, get out. But it doesn't work that way. We need to say, you guys partnered with this United Nations directive program on this date. This was the motion. We want that motion reconsidered. That seems like a meaningless rule, but that's how tactical civics works. We need to understand how things work in the chambers and come alongside our council, similar to how the city staff is coming alongside council, and provide them with the information, educate them, and then help them to know how to put those motions forward appropriately, because some of them are new and they don't even realize how to do this, and they're relying on the clerks, and the clerks, as we saw over in Thorold, are trained in implementing climate action programs. That's like part of their main training, it seems. Okay, so now I want to show you that we have a presentation ready to go, and you can go to the links. You can go to Gather 2030. You can see the banner there below, gather2030.substack.com, and you can get the downloadable links to these presentations, and we're working on more deputations. So we can attack this from many angles. And they say that once you do a presentation once on a subject, that you can't repeat it. You need to go in with different material. You can't just go in and say the same thing over and over again. So we need to line up our presentations and put this forward in many different ways, and get a team together locally so that they can go in one after the other and address different points on this matter and get the ball rolling. So I'll share with you my screen again, and I'll just run through that presentation. So this is designed to be a 10-minute deputation to any Canadian municipality on the FCM ICLEI Partners for Climate Protection Program. And I'll see if it can, no, I'll have to jump to it. Okay, so I'm going to start this presentation. Hello, my name is Maggie Braun. I have a background in ecosystem management, and I'm here to present on the FCM ICLEI Partners for Climate Protection Program, its origin and aim, supporting rationale, other considerations, benefits and disadvantages, and recommendations. 2 years after Canada signed on to Agenda 21, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities created the Partners for Climate Protection Program and sent a municipal primer to all Canadian municipalities, promoting sustainable development through local strategic action. Sustainable development is a term coined during the Brundtland Commission, stating that land cannot be treated as an ordinary asset controlled by individuals, and public control of land use is indispensable. On page 9 of the municipal primer is a flowchart of how Agenda 21 would be implemented through Canadian municipalities. This is a blueprint for achieving sustainable development. Notice the means of implementation: promoting education, public awareness and training, and information for decision-making. The Partners for Climate Protection Program is a means of implementation, providing information for decision-making based on Agenda 21 or UN directives. The PCP program offers tools, networking venues and events, case studies and other informational resources, and access to the PCP Secretariat, who offers coaching and technical assistance. The supporting rationale for the program is that it is well established that climate change is increasing the frequency of extreme weather events, and these pose a serious threat to our natural environment, our health, our jobs, and our economy. They also reference that Canada is committed to limiting the global temperature increase to below 2 degrees Celsius, according to the Paris Agreement. The municipal primer states, as its supporting rationale, that human activities have resulted in changes in global climate and are expected to do so in the future, and that a lack of scientific certainty shall not be used as a reason for postponing sustainable development. Let's jump ahead 30 years and consider the World Climate Declaration, signed by almost 1,900 scientists, stating that there is no climate emergency. Climate science should be less political, while climate policies should be more scientific. Scientists should openly address uncertainties and exaggerations in their predictions of global warming, while politicians should dispassionately count the real cost as well as the imagined benefit of their policy measures. The following slides are a combination of direct quotes from the scientists at the World Climate Declaration and peer-reviewed studies with references. Only 0.3% of published scientists stated in their papers that recent warming is mostly man-made. Natural factors, as well as anthropogenic factors, cause climate change. The Earth's orbit and tilt drive glacial and interglacial changes. The Geological Archive reveals that the Earth's climate has varied as long as the planet has existed. The Little Ice Age ended as recently as 1850. Therefore, it is no surprise that we are now experiencing a period of warming. This research alone would suggest that human activities have little impact on the global climate compared to natural factors, and it is not possible to limit the global temperature increase to below 2 degrees Celsius. The world has warmed significantly less than predicted by the IPCC, that is the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, and is the main source of research for the Partners for Climate Protection program. The gap between the real world and the modeled world tells us that we are far from understanding climate change. The IPCC models exaggerate the effect of greenhouse gases and ignore the benefits of additional CO2 in the atmosphere. CO2 is not a pollutant. It is the basis of all life on Earth. CO2 is not the primary greenhouse gas. Water vapor is. CO2 only makes up 0.04% of the Earth's atmosphere. And the warming effect of CO2 greatly declines as its concentration increases. CO2 is plant food. Additional CO2 in the air promotes growth in the global plant biomass. CO2 is favorable for nature and for the greening of our planet. More CO2 means more moisture in our soils. CO2 is profitable for agriculture, increasing the yields of crops worldwide. Global warming has not increased natural disasters. There is no statistical evidence that global warming is intensifying natural disasters or making them more frequent. Most of Antarctica is cooling and gaining ice. Extreme heat events are declining. Forest fires across the Northern Hemisphere are also declining. There is a reduction in hurricanes hitting the United States between now and 1851. Extreme tornadoes are also declining. And droughts are declining worldwide. There are more polar bears today than 50 years ago. The last interglacial period, 12,000 years ago, was 8 degrees warmer than today, and the polar bears survived. Warmer weather also means fewer temperature-related deaths, and that is because the cold kills far more people than the heat every year. Again, there's no statistical evidence that that climate change is increasing the frequency of extreme weather events or posing a serious threat. And I would submit to you that a lack of scientific certainty should be used as a reason for postponing so-called sustainable development. There is ample evidence that CO2 mitigation measures are as damaging as they are costly. Climate policy must respect scientific and economic realities. For instance, Canada's trees absorb over 7 times more carbon dioxide than our country puts out every year. Canada is a carbon sink. There is no climate emergency, therefore there is no cause for panic or alarm. We strongly oppose the harmful and unrealistic net zero CO2 policies proposed for 2050. Go for adaptation instead of mitigation. Adaptation works, whatever the causes are. And certainly Canadians have concerns and issues that are facing them as far as the cost of living that should be a higher priority to our policymakers and those in public office than these net zero policies. So we've already looked at the benefits of the Partners for Climate Protection program. And of course, it's free. So what's the catch? The catch is that municipal plans will be drafted with an emphasis on UN directives, so-called sustainable development, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and gender diversity and inclusion, which you see here, is being incorporated into the municipal climate action plans. This will cost council, committee, and staff time reviewing, submitting, and approving climate change reports annually, if not more. And this will commit public funds to private sustainable development goals. The official plans based on sustainable development restrict private property rights and severances, limit mobility, drive future population growth to selected settlement areas, reduces the tax revenue for smaller municipalities, which then reduces the services. And we see the results of that as our towns have been downgraded to villages, our villages to hamlets, our hamlets to ghost towns, the rural homes left abandoned, and the land unoccupied, bought up by foreign investors. This is the result of 30 years of so-called sustainable development. This program will also limit decision-making options for the council to fall within UN directives, and councillors who oppose these UN directives will face consequences. Adopting PCP compliant plans will bind the council to UN directives. This limits and ties your hands as a council. The council is the governing body of the municipal corporation, the custodians of its powers. That is why the PCP program needs you to endorse its measures and accept its reports. Without your approval, they cannot put forward this program in our local municipalities. This program will also limit public consultation to fall within the UN directives. Public surveys will be limited to UN directive options. Pick your top 3 sustainable development action items. Will be all that we have available to us in our public surveys. No other options. Public deputations will be denied if opposed to UN directives. Just like the city of Orillia put forward in this letter, the deputation is denied because the city considers its decision-making under the broad umbrella of the United Nations directives. Thankfully, this program is voluntary. Nobody is forcing the councils to adopt this motion. It is being put forward by city staff, and it is not mandatory, as they are stating or asserting. Those in public service, again, you have a duty to protect the rights of the members of the public from foreign agendas. And therefore, our recommendation is that the city be reviewed, the council be directed to review the municipal primer of 1994, that the council be directed to review the World Climate Declaration of 2023, and that the council support a motion to reconsider and a motion to rescind the original PCP motion as it is on your books. We recommend these motions be rescinded. Okay, so that is a presentation that is available to everyone to do to their councils, and there are references to all of the studies, which is great. I try to keep the studies as common knowledge. Everyone knows that the Earth's orbit and tilt drives glacial and interglacial changes. Everyone knows that the Geological Archive reveals that the Earth's climate has been changing as long as the planet is existing. Everyone should know that carbon dioxide is a natural greenhouse gas. It is not a pollutant, and it only makes up 0.04% of the Earth's atmosphere. And it is plant food, and it's contributing to the global plant biomass. As it increases, the Earth is getting greener and the soil is getting moisture. So that really flies in the face of CO2 is contributing to forest fires. No, CO2 in the lab, test after test, study after study, increases the moisture in the soil. So it is not contributing to forest fires. And I'm trying to put studies in there that can't be refuted. And I'm going to do the deputation templates with Clintel's information here. They have great information. This is the only group that is of scientists that are really putting forward information against the IPCC, which is the main source of information for all the policymakers that are pushing this. And they have excellent material. So that's what we're going to use in our deputations. And again, we can go in there and we can talk about all the different rabbit holes we can go down here, but we want to attack their argument. So when you call your city and you ask, why did we declare a state of emergency for climate change? They'll say, well, the Paris Climate Agreement, Canada is committed to that, which is to limit the temperature increase to below 2 degrees Celsius. Well, according to the Geological Archive, that is impossible. So we can refute that one. And then they say the IPCC report from 2015. And so that's why we're going to pull on Clintel's work, this World Climate Declaration, for instance, and their work in refuting the IPCC's exaggerations, as well as the mainstream media's exaggerations on what their report even says. So again, it gets a little technical, but that's where the people who understand technical writings need to come in and already have come in and put forward the arguments that we need to be making in our town councils so that we can make more sense than these Partners for Climate Protection Program people. And that's what we're doing moving forward. So you can find this information again at gather2030.substack.com. And with that, I'm going to get ready for a meeting and leave you guys to it today and figure out why my Facebook got shut down in the middle of this broadcast. And thankfully, I streamed it to Twitter. So hello, Twitter. My name is Maggie Braun. And I guess you're going to be seeing more of me because Facebook is kicking me off. And I've had just a great run on Facebook. And I have some amazing followers and support on Facebook. So I guess we're going to get more people onto Twitter because Twitter is where you're allowed to talk about these things. And thank you, Elon Musk, for that. And yeah, let's get this into our local councils, guys. This is where Agenda 21 is being implemented. And this is where we can have more one-on-one contact to reason with our councillors. And in Canada here, the majority of Canada is made up of rural councils as far as it goes geologically speaking. So we can save a good portion of the land in Canada from the UN takeover by protecting our municipalities that haven't partnered yet and by getting this partnership rescinded in the municipalities that have partnered and are most at risk for losing their municipalities to the bigger amalgamation structures that are taking place, such as we saw in Duro-Dummer earlier here. So let's get this information out to our councillors. I have a meeting every Friday night at 7 o'clock Eastern. Councillors and mayors are welcome to join, and we're keeping that meeting in-house I did stream the first one out, but I think we're going to keep that meeting in-house and just allow for a little bit more privacy within our conversations and our plans, just as we're building up our capacity. And of course, if anything is interesting that comes up that I want to share, I'll do my best to clip it and get that out from the meetings. But this is something that needs to go across the country. We're up against the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. We're up against ICLEI, the International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives. And we need to be as organized as they are and build our toolkit to move forward. And this is an offensive strategy against the United Nations. And it is one of many strategies. And there's other strategies. Civis for Reform has recently, how do I say it, sponsored an independently drafted statement of principles that is a 3-page document on the rights of persons and the duties of government. And that is the document that we are preparing to do deputations on to get that document adopted by our local council so that as we're unpartnering them from the United Nations directive programs, we're repartnering them with the people and the basic rights of persons and the duties of government so that that can be a guiding document for them moving forward. And I think we'll see, a very peaceful revolution come out of this. And Canadians, we are professional, we are competent, we are polite, and we can go in and make these changes in a professional way. That's how it was done, and that's how it needs to be undone. And we don't have to be as behind the scenes sneaky as these other organizations are and trick our counselors. We just need to go in there and show them the facts. And I think that they'll appreciate that. So I see that, I don't even know if you're able to still see me on Facebook. It kicked me out in the middle of this, but yeah, my visitor is going to be here very shortly. So I'll leave you guys with that. Thank you very much for watching. And I'll try and have this up on YouTube. We'll see what it's going to let me do here after. And thank you, Twitter family, for watching. We'll talk to you again soon. Oh, lastly, I'll be in Ottawa. I'll be in Ottawa this weekend. Let me just share this. There you go. Yeah. So we'll be in Ottawa this weekend. And there's a rally against the Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030. Let's kick the UN out of our towns and cities. This will be up on Parliament Hill. There'll be speeches and a march to the Partners of Climate Protection Program headquarters, which will be really fun. And so March 8th, that's Friday, we'll meet at 11 outside West Block. That's where the parliamentarians go in and out. And there'll be some speeches there. And bring your signs. It's going to be really fun. And then, so that will be a ICLEI demonstration. And then on Saturday, March 9th at 12 is the 1984 rally, Don't Let It Happen. And that is put on by Stand United BC. That is a nationwide rally. So you can go to Stand United BC and see if your town is participating and meet with the people in your city all across Canada. And we will be meeting in Ottawa at Metcalfe and Wellington, right at the King's Gate. And then we'll do another march to the Partners for Climate Protection Program. It should be interesting down there. I know that there's a large Palestinian protest happening. So we're just kind of going to have to see what happens. And obviously we'll show up and do our thing. We have a right to be there too. And yeah, interesting times that we live in. So much love, everyone. And thank you for watching. We'll see you soon. And we'll see you in Thorold, March 19th, when we go in and do deputations to, again, support the motion to rescind the Partners for Climate Protection Program in the municipality of Thorold. This is the first time that's ever going to happen in Canadian history. So if you want to be part of that, if you're in the Niagara area, look up the city of Thorold and get down there at 6:30 on March 19th. for deputations. Everyone who shows up, you represent 1,000 people. So in civics, the way it works is that one person makes a phone call, that represents 10 people who care about that issue. One person writes a letter, that represents 100 people that care about that issue. One person shows up in person, that represents 1,000 people that are concerned about that issue. So for instance, when we went to Duro Dummer, the population there is 8,000. We showed up with 65. We represented 65,000 people that day. So we need to do the same all across this country. We can come in from, in the meantime, as we build up our groups locally, we can support each other across those municipal boundaries and then build it up and get our momentum up. Okay, guys? People want solutions. People want to see some wins. So let's focus on the actions that will get us there. We don't, we're waking up every day. We're seeing the problems. We're sharing the problems. And I think I'm not the only one who realizes that the only way out of this is to get to work and to actually deal with the problems, as monotonous and annoying as it is to deal with this paperwork, right? And these seemingly meaningless rules of council and how things are adopted and how things are rescinded. But that is how things change. And I would rather get to work than sit there and complain about the issues. Okay? So this is like my way of dealing with the problems. And I think that a lot of people are drawn to that, and it gives them something that they can do within their circle of influence. And we certainly have a lot more power when we put our energy into that local level issues. And yeah, it's time for the professional class to step up and take this on, take this paperwork on. Okay, and together we can do it. We can make the templates so we're not all reinventing the wheel, and we can get this done. So I'm really looking forward to meeting people down in Ottawa, person to person. So anyone who's in like a 4 or 5 hour radius of Ottawa who's interested in this, come on down. We're going to have some gatherings after the demonstrations at the Red Pepper. We can meet one-on-one, and we can share this material. We can get it out there. We can see who has what skills, because some people are great researchers. Some people are great speakers. Some people are great at putting together PowerPoint presentations. Some people understand how the recommendations needed to be worded exactly so that we can get the actions out of the councils that we're looking for. Some people are more expert in the climate aspect of this, and we saw that they're incorporating the gender diversity and inclusion into these municipal climate action plans. Some people are more focused on that. We need to look into the Federation of Canadian Libraries as well to see what UN directive programs they're partnered with, so that we can find the motion where they partnered, put that before them for reconsideration, and show them how this is tying them into a decision-making limiting scope, so that they can take back their power from these programs with a simple resolution or bylaw. Okay, so that's how that goes. And I hope that helped everyone. And I just want to thank the councillors in Duro Dummer and the councillors in Thorold and the councillors in Kawartha. I didn't even get into Ron Ashmore and what he's been doing over there. And yeah, really just want to thank the councillors across Canada, and Lisa Robinson and Councillor Aaron up in North Bay. And there's more and more that we are finding about every day that are trying to do something about this. And I hope that this information will help the councillors to identify how our municipalities are partnering with this program. Again, you can find out if your municipality is partnered. You can go to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities website. You can zoom in on your municipality. If it has a dot, it's been partnered. You click on the dot, you find the year that it partnered, you contact your city clerk, and then show them the resolution to join and ask for the minute that adoption happened. So my guest is here, and I'm going to end it there. Okay, guys? So you need those minutes. and then you can exit the program. Much love.